Tim Raines hit .321 in limited duty with 4 home runs. 2 for 9 through the first 2 games of this series. A called strike from Ken Kaiser, and Kaiser is an important component in tonight's game. Both these pitchers like to work the corners and test just how far those corners will extend. Kaiser's strike zone could be important. There's the rest of the crew. Dave Phillips is the crew chief working second base. 1-1.
Funny, in talking with Joe Torre before the game tonight, and how much he talked about Tim Raines, and despite the fact that he's 2 for 9 in the series, he said Tim Raines is his go man.
Of course, one of those 2 was the first of the 3 consecutive home runs that started the comeback in game 1.
Well, they should erase the batter's box because most hitters do not use it anymore anyway.
2-2.
Nice change of pace that time by Charles Nagy. He'll change off the fastball and the curveball. He throws 2 or 3 different styles of curveball, but he'll change off both.
And his 2-2 pitch. Raines lays off the breaking ball, full count.
One of the reasons that Tim Raines stands so deep in the batter's box, he's not real quick on the pitches inside. So if you get a little deeper, it gives you just a little longer to get to the ball. It gives you a little more time to handle that inside fastball.
He gets a little piece of that fastball and stays alive. It also got a little piece of Sandy Alomar.
The second time in this series that we've seen Alomar get nailed. He got hit on the back of the fingers on his gloved hand over in the series in New York. This time that ball looked like it got him around the thumb, down around the bottom of his thumb on the gloved hand again. Got a lot of sting in there. They really hurt.
No matter how sophisticated the protective equipment becomes, and we've seen many innovations for the catchers, you can't take all the danger out of it. And he misses with the 3-2 pitch. Raines aboard with a walk. Not the threat to run that he once was. There was a stretch in the early 80s where he led the National League in steals 4 consecutive years with the Expos, with a high of 90 swipes in 1983. He stole just 8 in 13 attempts this year.
And Bob, if you're looking for a key for the Cleveland Indians, not a good sign here from Nagy, because not one of the pitches were down in the dirt or low. All of his fastballs, even the ones he fouled, were up in the strike zone, and the last pitch, ball 4, was up and out of the strike zone. Not where Nagy has to pitch in order to be successful. He has to get the ball down.
Up comes Jeter, who hit 10 homers during the regular season, but has 2 in this series. 4 for 9 overall against Cleveland in the first 2 games. Looks to bunt. The pitch comes up and in, and he pushes it foul.
This is Joe Torre from last year. Joe Torre came over last year and he played maybe a National League style of baseball. He would bunt, he would hit and run, he was a lot more aggressive than a lot of other American League managers had been the previous years. You see right here, he will bunt with Jeter, and then he may put a hit and run on.
For a guy hitting near the top of the order, Jeter strikes out a lot, 125 times. Pitch out, nothing on.
Tim Raines is on his own, so if he wants to steal the base, he can always take off. He has a green light.
The 1-1 pitch, bounce back to Nagy. He throws it wildly into center field, and here goes Raines on his way to third. The Yankees have runners at the corners with nobody out on what could have been a double play ball.
You always make sure of one. Everyone will tell you, make sure of one. Now watch what Nagy does. He doesn't pick up the shortstop. He just grabs the ball, turns, and fires. Look at that. And the ball's running away from Vizquel. Luckily, Bill Roberts was back there. He tried to block it. But watch this ball run away from him. He throws it sidearm, and you can see it's tailing away. You're supposed to take time, set yourself, and make one good throw, because the first out is always the most important.
Fernandez wasn't even close to that ball, Joe. The closest guy coming along the other side was Raines, and that's who Nagy may have picked up because he was that close to the bag.
In a jam of his own making as a result of a walk and his own throwing error here in the first. Strike one to O'Neill.
And that's the first pitch this entire ball game that he has gotten down around the knees and below.
Well, if there aren't a lot of grass stains on the ball, then Nagy is in trouble. He has to throw ground balls. The 0-1. And he gets ahead of Paul O'Neill. As Joe mentioned, Nagy was 15-11 for the year, his ERA a bit over 4. But against the Yankees, 0-2 with an earned run average of 18 in 3 1997 starts. He's working on 6 days rest. He was hit hard the last day of the regular season last Sunday in Minnesota, and generally he doesn't like to pitch on such long rest. And 1-2.
And the reason he doesn't like this pitch on long days rest because he feels stronger, and sinker ball pitchers have more success when their arm is a little tired. The ball sinks a little bit more, and as we mentioned, he's maybe overthrowing the sinker so far in this ball game because all the sinkers and fastballs he's thrown have been up.
On 1-2, misses inside. He just doesn't look like he has that kind of velocity either tonight, Joe. Here early, and it's the opening inning, and he may pick up. Here's that last pitch. It's got a little bit of a tail on it. You can see the delivery from Nagy. It's got a little bit of a tail, trying to get it to come back to the inside part of the plate, but the pitch was still upstairs.
Jeter back easily. Jose Cardinal is the coach at first. Willie Randolph on the lines at third. Cardinal was in the whirlpool before the game. There's Willie. He was flattened by Jim Thome in New York when Thome wheeled to chase an errant pickoff throw and steamrolled him. That'll make the seats foul.
Yeah, but Cardinal told me, he said, you see who got the best of that deal. Thome can't answer the bell today, and I'll be out there at first base.
You know, it's really something. There's Jim Thome, who has numbers that will place him somewhere in the top 10 in the MVP voting. 40 homers, better than 100 RBIs, but he has never hit Wells. 2 for 14 lifetime. Didn't start on any of the occasions Wells pitched against the Indians during the regular season, and is on the bench tonight. And the count goes full to O'Neill.
I think a point needs to be made about that Thome's lack of success against David Wells. As you see his numbers this year, 40 home runs, 102 RBIs. Those are the big numbers, but he also walked 120 times. But I'll make a point about that later because I think it needs to be revisited.
And the count holds at 3-2.
Well, the point is 14 at-bats is not enough to have a pattern against a pitcher. You have to have at least 20 at-bats. In the first couple of times you face each other, each one of you is trying to find a weakness. And once you settle in, then you know whether you can hit him. He struck out 3 times in those 14 at-bats. Not a lot. 14 at-bats is really not enough to determine whether you can handle a pitcher or not.
There goes Jeter on this 3-2 pitch, and it's ripped through the hole. The Yankees take the lead. Raines comes across. Jeter to third. The only consolation here for Cleveland is that first inning leads haven't meant anything in this series. But not a promising start for Nagy.
Here's that last pitch to Paul O'Neill. Again, it's a fastball up. Watch this pitch. It's about belt high, and O'Neill jumps all over it, rams it in the right field for a base hit. And remember, the Yankees in Game 2 had a 3-0 lead after 1 inning.
And the Indians jumped all over David Cone for a 5-0 lead that didn't hold up in Game 1. Now Bernie Williams. Foul ball, strike 1. Williams is 1 for 5 in this series. Hit .328 as you see for the year. Raines walked and scored the game's first run. A ball and a strike to the Yankees center fielder, one of the most elegant players in baseball. Everything about him bespeaks class, on the field and off. The way he carries himself, how well spoken he is.
Well, I'll tell you, Nagy here in the opening inning just does not appear to have it. And again, we're only in the first, but some of these breaking balls that he's throwing are really not biters. I mean, they're really not spinning and really getting a lot of good break on them, sharp break. And the fastball, again, little movement and for the most part pitching upstairs.
2-1 pitch to him. Gets the corner 2-2.
The Yankees had another center fielder like that, didn't they, years ago? Kind of elegant, nice guy.
Joe DiMaggio.
You're right. Here's the fastball. This one started off the plate and came back on the inside corner, which is a very good pitch for Charles Nagy.
Tino Martinez in the on-deck circle. A run home, nobody out. Runners at first and third. Tapped in front of the plate. That's a fair ball. Alomar is on it. O'Neill advances to second. Jeter holds third. And Williams is retired at first.
So far in this ballgame, the only success he's had is with the breaking ball. Even though that's a hanger, Williams gets the top of it, and it stays out in fair territory. Good play there by Sandy Alomar Jr. He was on top of it. Take a look here. Good breaking ball away, even though it was up. But a nice play here by Alomar Jr.
You see him grab that ball, Joe, before it got into foul territory. It was spinning foul. This ball gets right to the line, and Alomar picks it up very quickly. Took a token look at third. Nobody advancing from there, and then throws to Seitzer to retire Williams. That ball was spinning toward foul territory.
Now with first base open, it's Martinez. Strike one to him. He has owned Nagy over the years, and especially this year. 4 for 6 in 1997 against Charles Nagy, and 3 of those 4 hits for the distance. One and one.
This guy Tino Martinez has one of the most level swings in all of baseball. He has a beautiful swing, but you have to change speeds on him. He can really handle the fastball, especially up and out over the plate.
Nagy again behind on the count. Tino Martinez having what could have been an MVP year, but for the presence of Ken Griffey Jr.
The reason that he's going after Martinez, even though first base is open, is because Cecil Fielder's the next hitter, and Cecil hits him very well.
But considering what Martinez has done against him, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, especially now behind on the count 3-1, not to give Martinez anything to hit and take your chances that Cecil might hit it on the ground and you can get out of the inning.
Well, he's been trying to hit the inside corner with that fastball.
Swing and a miss at the breaking ball, and it's full again.
That's the curveball that Charles Nagy is looking for right there. This is a real biter, down low and inside. And Martinez with a big swing and cut over the top of it. You see the spin on that ball? This is a really sharp curveball down low and inside, and that's what he needs. Well, if you threw it 3-1, you might as well do it 3-2, too.
Jeter at third, O'Neill at second. And the bases are loaded for Cecil Fielder. 2 walks, an error, and 1 hard hit ball. Paul O'Neill's single through the right side. A run home, bases loaded, 1 out.
Cecil Fielder, 10 grand slams, 333 lifetime with the bases loaded.
And 333 for his career against Nagy. including 4 for 6 this year. His first at bat of this series. Fouled off.
And Big Daddy had a cut right there.
That may be the last one he sees in that area, Joe.
Yeah. Man, this pitch here, just watch Cecil Fielder. He gets right out there on it. Everything is there. He just got under it just a little bit. And when you're getting under a sinker, that tells you that you better change your pattern.
Good pitch.
Don't underestimate Charles Nagy. I mean, he's quality. He's got the good breaking stuff, the good sinker. I said earlier, only in the opening inning. Here's a good fastball. There's that sinker about knee high on the inside, caught her on fielder.
Waste one, 1-2. Mike Hargrove got a contract extension which takes him through next year. A different kind of season for him. But he's gotten the Indians to this point despite all kinds of changes. The 1-2.
Well, if he wants his arm to get tired, then he's on his way. He says he feels he throws his sinker better when his arm is tired. He's on his way to getting tired. 33 here in the first inning.
Good play by Alomar to prevent a wild pitch. 2-2.
And this is Sandy Alomar. Watch him shift out here now. Instead of just trying to backhand that ball, he shifts out and then gets the glove down and palms up, grabs it. Good play by Alomar.
Infield looking for the double play, of course. Trying to get out of this top of the first with minimal damage. Struck him out.
This out pitch fools Cecil on the change, on the speed, not so much the break. The fastball away, which he almost didn't get back, and a perfect fastball on the inside corner. 0-2. He wastes one. Comes in again. Good pitch. Now this pitch here, look at that. The speed fools him. He's a little bit out in front. It wasn't the break that got him. It was the speed, because that ball was pretty much in the middle of the plate.
Charlie Hayes now. There was a time not long ago where there would be no question about a healthy Wade Boggs being in the lineup against any right-handed pitcher. But that time has passed. There's Wade, still valuable off the bench, as he proved in last year's World Series with the big pinch hit walk.
Well, Joe Torre told us tonight that there was no question as to who had the better range at third. It's Charlie Hayes, and he said anything hit right at him, Boggs handles everything perfectly.
This ball is hammered to center field. Well hit, but Grissom will track it down. And it could have been a whole lot worse for Charles Nagy. The Yankees score 1 and leave 3, and the Indians are coming up. Here's the lineup for the home club. Bip Roberts at the top, 11-year veteran in his first postseason. And Sandy Alomar, who at one time this year, and I'm talking 2-3 months into the season, had a batting average over 370, winds up at 324. The big story is in the number 2 slot, Kevin Seitzer, a very capable veteran player, still dangerous. But it's really something when you take a guy with 40 home runs out of the lineup.
Oh, absolutely. And no matter what you say about Kevin Seitzer, as you look at David Wells, to be good, he's got to have the fastball and curve, which he does have. Problems for David Wells, every once in a while he gets a little lackadaisical and takes something off. It costs his fastball velocity, and he tends to be wild. There you see Charlie Hayes playing at third in place of Wade Boggs. Hayes, the better movement around the bag, and Joe Torre said that's going to be the story. But yeah, with Seitzer's a good veteran player, Bob, and a guy that I had a chance to watch for a few years in Milwaukee. But certainly no Jim Thome.
Seitzer will be next. Strike one to Bip Roberts. One and one. David Wells is 34 years old. 6'4" and 225. Lifetime against Cleveland, he's 8-4. 16-10 for the season. That's a career high in victories for him. Gets ahead of Roberts 1-2. He had won 15 for Toronto in 1991, and he's always been a good postseason pitcher. He has a 3-0 postseason record with an ERA of 2.7. Hit to short. Jeter charges and takes care of Roberts. So here comes Seitzer. Veteran who began with Kansas City, then on to Milwaukee, had good years for each. In fact, as a rookie in 1987 with the Royals, he hit .323 and was the runner-up in the Rookie of the Year balloting to Mark McGwire. This year in a utility role, .268 for the Indians. It's the first one to the right side. Martinez will take it himself. Well, the Mariners stay alive behind Jeff Fassaro, who beat Jimmy Key, and they'll bring Randy Johnson back in Game 4 tomorrow. Now, Johnson has had no success at all against the Orioles, and they hit him hard in Game 1 at the Kingdome. But nonetheless, if you've got Randy Johnson and he can pitch at all, you go with him. That game will be on ESPN, as you saw, tomorrow. Manny Ramirez hits it down to Charlie Hayes. He catches it on the fly, and Wells works a very quick bottom of the first. He leads it 1-0.
Ah, these sport youths. They're a different breed for you, huh? Not for the timid, these things. No, sir. Got that whole other kind of suspension thing going on. Now, if you ask me, the whole thing's a little over-calibrated. I mean, of course, on a smooth road like this, you're not going to notice. But you get your potholes, your various road anomalies. Believe you me, you're gonna feel it.
Feel what? You're in a Bravada. With ride and handling you wouldn't expect in an SUV. So the only thing you'll feel is really comfortable. Bravada. It knows the road.
Did we just go over some train tracks?
Happy anniversary, Walmart.
Happy anniversary, Walmart.
Now through October 7th, we'll celebrate together with a great price on Surf detergent, just $9.47 each. The Panasonic microwave with bonus coffee maker is just $129. And get Mattel's Dentist Barbie, only $16.96 each, plus lots more.
I've been saving at Walmart for years.
Happy anniversary.
Only through October 7th, only at Walmart's 35th anniversary celebration. Your best friend.
NBC's coverage of tonight's Division Series game is brought to you by Oldsmobile and your local Oldsmobile retailers. By the irresistible taste that makes you say, did somebody say McDonald's? By Visa, it's everywhere you want to be. And by Sun America, the retirement specialist.
Overhead shots courtesy of the Goodyear Blimp Stars and Stripes out of Pompano Beach, Florida. At the controls, Captain Larry Chambers from Lighthouse Point, Florida. In the first inning, Charles Nagy threw 37 pitches. David Wells threw 6. Strike one to Joe Girardi. He'll be followed by Ray Sanchez, and then back up to the top for Tim Raines. Sharply to second. Fernandez to his right, juggles it, but has time.
Here's that last play. Fernandez with a bit of a bobble. Finally corrals it. Can't take too much time with Girardi, one of the better running catchers in baseball.
Well, with Fernandez having made that last play and Ray Sanchez, the Yankee second baseman, stepping in and promptly smacking one to short, where the Gold Glover Omar Vizquel takes care of it. Might be worth noting that both the Indians and the Yankees are said to be intensely interested in Chuck Knobloch of the Twins.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, he's one of the better players in the league, and both are not settled at second base. I mean, he would make a great addition to either ball club.
Knobloch signed that big multi-year deal with Minnesota, and everybody thought that's going to make him a Twin for the rest of his life, but it appears that he wants to leave, that he wants to get out of Minnesota.
The Twins situation is unsettled. They don't know if they'll get a new ballpark or possibly sell to a group that would move it to Charlotte.
Been a lot of talk about that, and especially the Charlotte move.
Raines walked on a 3-2 pitch and eventually scored in the first. 1-1.
And you see a different Charles Nagy here in the second, Bob, and it could have been, you know, his adrenaline was flowing. He was overthrowing the ball in the first inning. He's gotten 2 ground balls on good sinkers down, and he's keeping the ball down to Raines here.
The Indian pitching coach, Mark Wiley, with his charts. Nagy is 6'3", 200 pounds, 30-year-old Connecticut native who pitched for a couple of years at UConn before turning pro. He's got this one. In contrast to the first, he takes care of the Yankees with great dispatch in their second turn at bat. Still 1-0 New York.
During the 0-5 stretch, David Wells' problem was his front shoulder was staying up too high, and he couldn't get over the top to get on top of his breaking ball. See how it clears right there? Now he's able to get that breaking ball down in the strike zone. And we'll watch him for the remainder of the evening to see if he's able to get on top like he did the first inning here.
Matt Williams, he has a history against Wells, and it's a good one. 5 hits and 7 trips, 2 of them home runs. Off-speed pitch hammered into center. Wells still can't figure Williams out.
Well, that was a hanging breaking ball, and he did not get on top of that one to get it down. And Matt Williams, a good breaking ball hitter if you keep it up in the zone. See how his shoulder stayed up there a little longer? That ball did not have the snap on it that we saw in the pitch to Biff Roberts in the first inning.
I talked to Joe Girardi before the game, and he said, for this Indian lineup, Matt Williams is one of the most feared guys in baseball. He said, this guy is very, very tough. Every once in a while, he said, he'll come up there different every time he comes to bat. Sometimes he'll come up there sitting on a dead breaking ball. I mean, he'll look breaking ball, breaking ball, breaking ball. Other times he'll change and go to a fastball. But he said you can never pitch Matt Williams one way.
After the first Cleveland hit, David Justice steps in. If you have to lose Albert Bell to free agency and Kenny Lofton in anticipation of being unable to sign him, to fill in with David Justice, to fill in with Grissom, to swing a deal that brings you Matt Williams, that shows that John Hart is not asleep at the switch. That'll make the seats.
And David Justice has one of the sweetest swings in all of baseball. He and Will Clark have always been that way, but Will's had some injuries lately. You have to throw the fastball in on him, preferably up and in. He's a very good fastball hitter when you get the ball out over the plate. He will take it to left field. You've got to try to get him to chase the breaking ball off the plate. He won't do it very often, and that's why he hits .333. He knows how to hit, and he's able to go the other way off left-handers.
2-1. The Indian lineup, although different, is still formidable. The drop-off is in the pitching when you compare them to 1995. Hershiser, who will pitch Game 4 against Doc Gooden, is still a presence, but at 39, not what he once was. And Jack McDowell went down in May, and they haven't had him. They thought he'd be the workhorse and maybe the staff ace. John Smiley broke his arm just before postseason. Sanchez can't get it. Into center field. Williams wheels around second and winds up at third. Consecutive singles to start the Indians' second.
One of the underrated parts of Matt Williams' game is his base running. He's a good base runner. And this ball is hit up the middle. Wells gets the ball out over the plate. He doesn't get it in. Now watch where this pitch is. Out over the plate. And David Justice handles that ball very well. And as it gets past the infield, take a look at where this pitch is. See, right out over the plate. You've got to stay tight on him. Matt Williams at first base. Now watch, he gets a good jump on that ball, and he decides right away he's going to third. He never slows down. Comes around to third base. Good hustle by Matt Williams.
See him take that token look in center field to see where the ball was, Joe, and then lit out for third. And the crowd into this game now.
Alomar. A little pop to the right side. Sanchez wants it. And Sandy looks skyward in disgust.
There's the kind of fastball that Joe was talking about that he should have thrown to David Justice. This is a good fastball. I mean, he got it in tight on Alomar, and he popped it up. Watch this. This is a good fastball from Wells. There it is inside. He hit Alomar right on the fist. That little flare on the infield. Yep. Next time, Sandy. If you can turn around on that ball quickly, if you can get around on it quickly, it's a ball you can really hammer. He was just a little tardy on it.
Tony Fernandez hit .286 for the year, but almost .400 from the right side. Justice at first, Williams at third, one out, bottom of the second, and the Indians trailing 1-0.
Another thing about Fernandez, he's not a very big guy. He's always been lean. I mean, he's had range as a shortstop, now as second baseman, but every once in a while, I mean, if he sits on a pitch, he can pop you.
Well, he hit 11 home runs. Just misses the inside corner.
Trying for the same pitch that he got Alomar out on, that little running fastball. It's running in on the hitter, and Fernandez was able to lay off.
Hit to short. They'll have to hurry to turn two. Sanchez fires across to Martinez. Safe. Joe Torre out to argue, but this is a tie game.
Well, what happens here is that Jeter handcuffs Sanchez. Watch this play. Jeter goes into the hole. He wants to get the ball to Sanchez quickly, but I think the ball tailed away. Now watch it. See, he handcuffs him, and Sanchez makes a good turn, and he is out at first base. Now watch this play. He handcuffs him. This is a great turn at second base there by Sanchez. And you'll see right there, he's in the air just as the ball, and Martinez doesn't argue very often. Right there, he's in the air. Very close play, but he's in the air. You see Zimmer's up yelling. The Yankees have a very good view of that because they're right there on the line. And everyone was upset.
I'll tell you, the other thing, too, Joe, is the hustle of Tony Fernandez. I mean, he was really busting down the line and made it a close play.
Greg Kosk called him safe. You see Don Zimmer? That has to be one of the worst calls I've seen in my 49 years in baseball. If I've seen one call that bad, I've seen, 6,000, 7,000. Marquise Grissom. Wells 0-1 pitch coming. With a fastball by him. Grissom hit .262 and stole 22. A few years ago, he stole 76 and 78 in consecutive seasons while with Montreal. A ball and 2 strikes.
Mike Hargrove told us that Grissom doesn't have the speed of a Kenny Lofton, but overall, their overall play, throwing, hitting with power. He says Grissom has a little more power. He said, I really want to keep Grissom here. I like him. He's good for the club.
Not as speedy as he once was, but he still plays an excellent center field.
Said he gets a great jump on the ball.
Rolls the 1-2 pitch foul. And the year before that chart picks up, in 1991, he stole 76. So they've gone progressively down.
When I talked to him, he said now he picks his spots better. He doesn't just steal bases, you know, to steal for numbers. He says he only tries to steal bases when the team needs a run.
Can you go progressively down? Maybe consistently down and progressively up. Something to ponder as Grissom lofts one to left. Coming in as Raines. We will now progress to the commercial. It's a tie game after 2 at the Jake. Series tied at 1 apiece. Game tied at 1 apiece. Jeter, O'Neill, and Williams in the Yankee third against Nagy. They check with Greg Koss, who says he did not go around. Jeter reached on Nagy's throwing error in the first. Here's the scouting report on Jeter, last year's American League Rookie of the Year. We hope. Eventually.
Well, Jeter's one of those guys where he likes the ball middle of the plate in. It doesn't mean he wants to pull it, but he can go the other way. And there you take a look at him. He handles all pitches well, but he goes the other way a lot of times.
There have been a lot of runs scored in this series so far. We have no idea the direction this game might take, but it's possible that the turning point, as we look back, will have come in the first inning. Cecil Fielder's at bat when Nagy was able to strike him out. He was a few pitches away from having this game get completely away from him, and now it's possible that he's approaching a groove.
Yeah, he had a shaky first inning, Bob, and the call, the big curveball on Cecil Fielder to strike him out. Then he gets Charlie Hayes on a fly ball to center to pitch out of it. And the next inning, I mean, from then on, he started to settle in. You see the old Charles Nagy.
But he starts the third with a walk.
Let's take another look at that play in the first inning that got the Indians a run. Jeter's throw to second base handcuffs Sanchez. Now let's see if we can get a look at the play at first base. It's a very close play, no doubt about that, but the ball does beat him. And I have the advantage of an instant replay, but the Yankees do not. And you see they're all up in arms right away when he's called safe. They don't have a replay. They don't need one. And that was the second inning, of course.
O'Neill singled home the Yankee run. Hits this ball well to center field, but Grissom goes back to the edge of the track to haul it in.
Grissom, like all good center fielders, every time a ball is hit, I mean, from our vantage point or from the stands, the fans think this ball is really juiced. And O'Neill did hit that ball well. But the crack of the bat, Grissom back, and I mean, he was in cruise control all the way. Knew he had plenty of room to make the catch. Here's another angle. Easy play for Grissom on a ball well hit by Paul O'Neill.
There's the defense right there. Marquise Grissom, Tony Fernandez, Matt Williams. Pretty good defense the Indians are throwing out there today. All Gold Glove winners.
He won't make the acrobatic plays, scaling the wall and reaching into the customers to pull one back like Kenny Lofton. Nobody in baseball, with the possible exception of Ken Griffey Jr., can do that with Lofton. But Grissom will get to almost everything that's reachable by anybody. Almost. One out, one on, and Bernie Williams takes a strike. How would you evaluate Kaiser's strike zone so far?
Well, I think he's doing a good job, to be perfectly honest with you. I don't think that he's giving one pitch more than another. A lot of times a guy will give you the low pitch and not the high pitch, or vice versa. So far he's been pretty consistent as far as up and down is concerned. And that's all you want.
You know, anybody who's watched SportsCenter all year on ESPN has to be saying, hey, Bob and Joe, you got to throw Jim Edmonds' name in there when you talk about acrobatic center fielders. So let's take care of that oversight. What a year he had for the Angels. Making some plays you had to see several times before you're convinced they weren't an optical illusion. 1-2 to Williams.
Funny thing is, Ken Griffey is such a great outfielder, sometimes we take him for granted. Remember the play he almost made in center field the other night? We just assumed he was going to make it. Although it would have been, you know, one of the great catches in history on the ball that Alomar hit to center field in the Kingdom. So there are a lot of great center fielders in baseball today.
Jeter away from first and diving back now ahead of Seitzer's tag.
Jeter is another of the Yankees that's on his own as far as Joe Torre goes with stealing bases. And if he gets a lead, if he feels he can steal a base, he has no problem with it.
He stole 23, although he was caught 12 times, so that's not a great percentage.
But he's a guy who keeps the defense aware of the fact that he will run from time to time.
And he's a young player. He's still learning to steal bases in the major league.
There he goes. Williams lays off. Alomar's throw not in time.
And as soon as we say that, he gets a great jump at first base. Watch, he's off right away. In fact, he left a little early. I knew he had a great jump.
Good throw by Alomar may get him, though, Joe. That throw was high and to the second base side. A good throw may have nailed him. There's Jeter taking a look at the pitch, which is not what you want to do. If it's a straight steal, you don't care where the pitch is. You're just running to the bag. But he's in there.
Now Nagy, who has walked 3 already, runs another full count. Well hit right field toward the corner. Diving for it is Ramirez to make a terrific catch. Manny Ramirez with a whale of a play.
One of the things that Mike Hargrove talked about with us today was the concentration of Ramirez has improved. I mean, you see he ends up having to short arm it a little bit, but he kept his eyes on it. The concentration was there, and that just saves a run.
He almost misplayed that ball by diving for it. He had an easier chance to catch that ball just running flat out and making the catch.
Well, Ramirez has been known to do some interesting things.
Once you're in the air, though, what are you going to do?
In the field and on the bases, he has his own unique approach from time to time. You're right. On the replay, it was clear he was taking it in close to his body. He didn't have to fully extend.
No, absolutely not. That looks good.
Tino Martinez. A ball and a strike to him.
I guess when you're running after a ball like that, it may have been slicing away from him a little bit. We don't have the good angle on it. He may have thought it may take a dive to catch this ball, but it ended up being more of a routine catch for him had he not taken the dive.
Normally when a left-hander gets out in front, that ball will hook. And that ball did not hook, and is probably what fooled him.
Two and one to Martinez, who walked his first time up.
And they're making a conscious effort just to stay in tight on Tino. And you know, the book on him is you have to stay in tight. But if you let that ball move back out over the plate, he will hurt you. But in the first two at bats, they've concentrated solely on the inner half of the plate and off the plate inside.
Upwards of 60 pitches, and we're only in the third. Part of the Yankee order, doing heavy damage against enemy pitchers. They're roaring on the 2-2 pitch, which is lined to right for a base hit. Here comes Jeter, waved home by Randolph, and the Yankees reclaim the lead.
And a real mistake there by Nagy. They had pitched him inside, so they had him set up to go away. You'll see Sandy Alomar Jr. sitting away on this pitch, and he throws the ball on the inner half of the plate, middle of the plate. Now see where Alomar Jr. is? Now look where the pitch is. Back over the middle of the plate, not where they were asking for the ball, not where he wanted it. And when you get the ball down and out there, see how level his swing is. He just has such a beautiful swing, and he just rips that ball in the right field.
Ramirez had ideas of taking a shot at Jeter, but he was off on the pitch. As that ball was hit and Ramirez, realizing he had no chance for Jeter, wisely held on.
So Jeter walks, steals a base, and rides home on the RBI single from Tino Martinez. 2-1 New York.
Two walks given up by Nagy. He walked the two walks that he gave up to the leadoff men. First and third both have scored.
Two and one to the Yankee DH, who struck out with the bases loaded in the first inning. Slow roller foul.
I'll tell you, Fielders had a couple of good pitches to hit, both ABs. There was another good fastball that Cecil was a bit tardy on back in the opening inning. He had a good fastball to hit and fouled it here again. That was kind of a mistake by Nagy. This ball is about knee high and right down the middle. Hit that one off his front foot.
Full count. If Charles Nagy at this rate sees the 6th or 7th inning tonight, it'll be an upset. Runner is off, a liner to Fernandez, and that'll do it in the Yankee third. But a single run gives them a 2-1 lead. After fouling one down off his left foot, Cecil Fielder, as the DH, has the luxury of giving it some attention in the dugout with a bag of ice on that throbbing puppy.
That's enough ice for a picnic on his foot.
Omar Vizquel hitting ninth against David Wells, against whom he is just 1 for 28 lifetime. Jim Gray reports from the Yankee dugout that there's no problem, at least at this point, with Fielder continuing. One and one.
I would get a kick out of David Wells' uniform. I mean, he looks like he's got enough material in there for another guy. And that's the way he always looks. I mean, he's been that way forever. It's kind of the Jackie Gleason look.
I'm telling you, Euchre, one of these days, bang, soon.
The poor soul.
Well, he wears number 33 because his idol, as most folks know,
Lou Burdett.
Exactly. Vizquel pops one into the seats. 2-2. Now he idolized the Babe, and you can't have number 3 when you wear a Yankee uniform, so he doubled it. Went to the mound one game this year wearing an old-style Yankee cap from the 1920s or 30s in tribute to Ruth. And they said, no, you're not allowed to do that. You got to wear the same hat as the rest of your teammates. Of course, there are no tattoo regulations, so sports 1 or 2 of those. Blares the heavy rock music in the locker room. Vizquel tags this one. Despite his past history, he got a good piece of it and almost pins Raines to the wall, but almost 370 feet away makes the catch.
You know what Tony Perez would say about that? When a little guy hits it, it doesn't go out. But if a big guy hits it that good, it's in the upper deck. He hits this ball very well. I mean, I thought it was gone, but you do not get the carry if you're not as strong as the big guys.
You don't get the carry here to left field that you do to right either. It's a lot more comfortable in right field, and David Wells says, thank you very much.
Little guy hit it.
So Vizquel, who's never had any success against Wells, came close that time. Bip Roberts, who grounded out his first time up. Bottom of the third, 1 out, nobody on. 2-1 New York. Wells had that stare down with Yankee owner George Steinbrenner a few weeks ago, where Steinbrenner was on his case during the stretch where Wells was very ineffective. Had some disparaging remarks to make in the Yankee locker room. Bounced to short. It comes up for Jeter. That takes care of Roberts. To be continued, because we must tell you now that you can follow the baseball postseason online at MLBWorldSeries.com. Check in and see our video play of the day. That's what the page looks like today. You can log on for daily player chats with some of the biggest names in the game. Take part in a live vote on the topic of the day at MLBWorldSeries.com. So anyway, Wells says to Steinbrenner, hey, I ought to pop you one. Steinbrenner says, come on, go ahead. Wells didn't take him up on it, which was probably wise.
That was the best thing.
Change-up. First one he's thrown in this ball game.
Not that Wells hasn't been involved in a brawl or two from time to time.
There's a time and place for everything. I mean, after the season's another time. It didn't surprise me that George said, come on. Did it surprise you at all?
I thought it was a good move.
I did too.
Very slim chance that Wells is going to take him up on it. Looks good on the resume. Did you ever challenge your owner to a fight?
I never saw an owner.
Well,
never saw an owner. Not when I played, I should say. Or not when I sat. Let me get it all straight here.
1-2 to Seitzer.
I was happy. I never had a problem with anybody. Give me just the uniform top. I didn't care. I wore jeans underneath.
Hayes backs up. Does he have time? Somehow, yes. As deep as he was, Despite bobbling it, he gets Seitzer. And we're back after this from your local station.
Backs up on this ball because Seitzer doesn't run that well. Then he knocks it down and watch. He bobbles it again, picks it up, and he still has time to get Seitzer. We might have to bet on Wilson Alvarez in a race with Seitzer.
I'll tell you what, as Hayes exchanges the glove for the bat now, after watching Alvarez run last night in San Francisco, I'm not betting against him or on him against Clydesdales.
Rough. Real rough. Clydesdales. Oh, you're from St. Louis. You see them all the time, don't you?
Clydesdales, that is, not Alvarez. If I saw Alvarez all the time, would I be saying that? Here's Hayes. Lining one to left, and this ball fools Bip Roberts, and he has to go airborne to pull it in.
That ball was really smoked by Charlie Hayes. I mean, about halfway out there. Did you see that thing take off? He got underneath this ball. This is a line drive. He hit a fastball, really nailed it. And watch Roberts now. That ball really took off on him. He makes a heck of a catch. Woo! That ball really took off. It was really hit hard by Hayes. Heck of a play.
Charlie says, hey, I can't hit it any harder.
Yeah, but he's yelling at Bip. He's probably saying, you know, you're a second baseman, not a left fielder.
Routine.
And halfway out there, Bip thought he was a second baseman and not a left fielder.
He just looked up. He said, thank you very much.
1-2 to Girardi. Well, Bip Roberts has played just about everywhere through the years. Still runs well, has some sting in his bat. Very valuable guy to have on a team.
You know, Kaiser's doing a good job behind the plate tonight. He really is. I mean, he's been fair both ways. Pitches that are just off their balls and those that are right on the corner. I mean, he's calling a good ball game.
Greg Kosk is asked to rule once again, and he says no, the count is full.
That's a redeemer for the Yankee bench there. There's that last breaking ball. Yep, he held. Good call. Another check swing by Girardi. Another walk.
The fourth walk issued by Nagy, who has seen the count go full to 7. Of the 15 hitters he's faced. And there's Bip still trying to figure out what's going on.
Well, Hayes will start yelling at him in a second.
A look is enough.
Up and into Sanchez for ball 1. 2 runs, 2 hits, no errors for New York. 1-2-1 for Cleveland. And the error, a throwing error in the first, figured in the first Yankee run. There goes the runner. The ball bounded down toward third. Matt Williams has it. He throws Sanchez out at first, but Girardi's in scoring position with 2 out. Wednesday, the premiere of Working.
Very happy to be here, Mr. Deal. Call me Tim. Nobody around here pulls any power trips. Have a seat in the little chair.
So, Fred Savage premieres in Working Wednesday on NBC.
Mike Hargrove is coming out to talk with Charles Nagy. There's activity in the Indians bullpen. Before this game ever got underway tonight, Nagy had made his bullpen pitches and had warmed up, came back to the Indian dugout, and then the game was delayed for a couple of minutes because Charles Nagy was up in the Indians clubhouse. Evidently something was wrong then, and he may be having problems again now. Chad OJ in the Indians bullpen, and Mike Hargrove evidently has gotten the right answer from Charles Nagy because he's going to stay, and Hargrove heading back to the dugout.
Some people thought OJ might have been Hargrove's choice as the Game 4 starter, but he erased all doubt. No, he'll give the ball again to Orel Hershiser, opposed by Dwight Gooden, who was 3-0 with an ERA of just over 2 against Cleveland this year, and is 5-0 lifetime versus the Indians. Raines has walked, scored a run, and bounced to the mound.
And OJ is not sitting down. We may see him in the next inning. Nagy, I don't know if he's got something wrong with his side, Joe. He looked like he was favoring his side a little bit, and Hargrove decides to stay with him.
As we said earlier, starting pitching really has been the area of the greatest fall off. Nagy did win 15. But Mike Hargrove and John Hart were hopeful that they could sign Roger Clemens. They tried to get into that derby. It didn't work. They've used 14 different starting pitchers this year. And then when you look at the bullpen, although Jose Mesa has reclaimed the closer's role, he is not automatic as he was a couple of years ago. Far from it. "83 pitches, and we're only in the 4th. And now behind on the count 2-0 with first base open. They'll throw the next 2 wide and high to Raines. And take their chances with Derek Jeter, a right-handed hitter.
Tim Raines has been swinging the bat very well, and they remember how well he hit the ball in last year's postseason. I mean, he has been one of the Yankees' secret weapons in the postseason the last couple of years. Even though he's had problems during the year, he had a lot of injuries the last couple of years.
So Jeter reached on an error. That was in the 1st. In the 3rd, he walked, stole a base, and scored on a Tino Martinez single. 2 out, 2 on, and ball 1.
Nagy very, very wild here tonight. 5 walks, including the intentional walk, but that's not a normal Charles Nagy performance. And again, he may be bothered by a sore side. There's something wrong with him.
Nagy has pitched in the last 3 postseasons for Cleveland, including the '95 World Series. Slight bit of rain beginning to fall, and there was some rain in the forecast. We're in the 4th. 1-2.
A couple of good breaking balls that time to Jeter, down low and away. This one again, a curveball off the outside corner, and Jeter chases. That's a good pitch right there, down and away. Bad pitch for Jeter, good pitch for Charles Nagy.
And that drizzle is now a pretty hard rain.
It's starting to come down. Fans are, matter of fact, heading for cover.
Yeah, it only took a few seconds. Just a few drops fell, and then the skies opened up.
Well, they said only a vague chance of showers tonight. The remainder of the weekend here is supposed to be gorgeous, but it is raining now.
Another full count. The runners go, and the bases are now loaded again. On the 6th walk given up tonight by Nagy, and his evening is done. Six walks, 3 of them in this inning. He'll leave behind 2-1. The numbers and the expression on Charles Nagy's face tell the story. He was ahead of Derek Jeter 1-2 and couldn't finish him off. That became the last of his 6 walks. And now Paul O'Neill will be the first man to face Chad Ogea with the bases loaded.
Well, the Yankees left the bases loaded back in the opening inning when Nagy pitched out of it, getting Fielder and Charlie Hayes. And here it's odd here that we're talking during the commercial break that he's going to stay with Chad Ogea. If indeed it was something physically wrong with Charles Nagy, it would have given Hargrove the opportunity to bring in somebody else, because Ogea was throwing, but he stayed with him. And here he is facing Paul O'Neill, the left-handed batter,
who has singled home a run and fly to deep center. Yankees leading it 2-1. As quickly as the rain came, it is now pretty much stopped.
Wow, this is a big, situation in this ball game, and I can't see why you wouldn't have a left-hander pitch to Paul O'Neill. Base hit here, it can almost break open the game.
One and one.
When we talked to Hargrove, he said that Ogea would be his long man, and this is a long situation, but it's also a game-breaking situation here with a guy like Paul O'Neill, who drove in over 100 runs and can hit the ball out of the ballpark.
Bases juiced with 2 down. And Ogea falls behind 2-1. The Yankees have only 2 hits, RBI singles by O'Neill and Martinez. But there have been Yankee base runners all over the place through the first 4 innings because of the 6 walks and a throwing error. Girardi at third. Raines at second. Jeter at first. And the 2-1 pitch.
Pretty good pitch that time by Chad Ogea. Changeup down low, and O'Neill out in front of it a little bit and hit this little roller foul. That's a good change of pace. Good area. Down low and inside, and O'Neill fouls it.
I think the location was better than the speed, because O'Neill had to try to keep it fair because it was off the plate inside.
Breaking ball hit hard but foul.
That's a little different situation here. This is a slider inside, so he can go ahead and hack at it. If this was been a changeup, he'd try to keep it fair, but he just rips this one, and he barely hooks it foul down the first base line. So that's a breaking ball there, so you do not have to try to keep it fair, although he pulls it foul anyway. On the changeup, he slowed his bat speed to try to keep it fair.
Another 2-2 pitch. Full count.
There's the area where Kaiser has really been good tonight. I mean, those pitches that are borderline off the inside or outside corner. And again, both ways. I mean, he's done a good job. Really has.
Paul O'Neill, very good eye at the plate. He does not swing at a lot of bad pitches. He usually makes sure that he gets a good pitch to hit.
Girardi, Raines, and Jeter will take off. Gets a little piece of it.
This looked like a change of pace on a 3-2 count.
It is a change.
That's what it is. And O'Neill out in front again a little bit, but he got a piece of it.
We've seen this.
Like I say, Joe, aren't too many times you sit on 3-2 changeup.
No. We've seen a lot of this lately, though, Bob, where a pitcher makes a good pitch and a good hitter fouls it off, and then they do not make as good a pitch, and the hitter's been able to handle it. Good hitters do that.
And this ball is hit well to center. Grissom goes back. This ball is carrying. Grand slam home run. So O'Neill, who hit the last of those back-to-back-to-back home runs in Game 1. Hits the jackpot here in Game 3 to dead center field over the 405 side.
And good hitters do that. I mean, he fought off a good pitch, and O.J. doesn't make as good a pitch when he comes back. This is a changeup, but it's up. See, that's a much different pitch than the pitch he fouled off before. O'Neill just jacks it straight away center field. That's just good hitting right there, and he knows all right away that he's got it. He knows right there.
He's saying, get up, get up. Yep, he got it. There's manager Joe Torre. There's Popeye, Don Zimmer, and the rest of the Yankee bench. Mel Stottlemyre. David Wells right there. Yes.
6-1 New York. O.J.'s 1-0 pitch to Bernie Williams.
All big situations do not come late in the ball game. A lot of times they come early in the ball game. This one came early, and I really felt like this was a big at bat in this ball game. And when you have a right-hander facing Paul O'Neill, I don't think that's to your advantage in this situation. And we pointed out he was 0 for 5 against Chad O.J., but I've also pointed out that 5 at-bats do not make a career against a player.
Well, Nagy loaded the bases on 3 walks before departing. O.J. runs the count full to Paul O'Neill, and O'Neill takes him deep. A grand slam to make it 6-1.
I didn't think the pitch selection was all that bad. It was a bad zone that he threw it in. He threw him a good change up the pitch before, then threw the next one high, and O'Neill jumped all over.
Well, it's very difficult to make a great pitch and follow it with another great pitch on a 3-2 count, because your first thought is to throw a strike with it.
Bernie Williams lost one to right center field. Grissom to the track on this one and takes it at the wall. Takes it over the center field wall, and we take it to commercial. 6-1 New York.
NBC's coverage of tonight's Division Series game is brought to you by Genuine Chevrolet, the cars more Americans trust. By Most Wanted, starring Keenan Ivory Wayans. By Canon Laser Color, its only competition is reality. And by Burger King, where you can get your burger's worth.
Well, the Yankees trailed 6-1 going to the bottom of the 4th at Yankee Stadium in Game 1, rallied to win. Indians trail 6-1 as they come up in the 4th here at Jacobs Field.
Much different situation, though, Bob, because at the beginning of a series there's a lot of adrenaline flowing. You haven't settled into a game plan. This is the 3rd game of the series. They have settled into how they're going to play, and it's very difficult to come back from a 6-1 lead against a good team. Early in the series you might do that. You do not do that very often late in the series.
David Wells, those last 2 fastballs starting to heat up a little bit here. He really threw that first one on Ramirez, tried to check his swing and couldn't.
And that also helps David Wells. He feels much better about his situation out there with his 5-run lead. He knows he just has to throw strikes with his good stuff.
Ramirez followed by Williams and Justice, the heart of the Cleveland order in the 4th. Manny lined to 3rd, his only time up in this game. Hit .328 for the year with 26 home runs. Another 0-2 pitch. Fastball shatters his bat. Hayes can't make the play, and Ramirez will reach on an error to open the 4th.
And you could see that coming because he was going to get an in-between hop. You have to either stop short or charge it a little harder. And watch, he goes across first. See, he's running away from the ball first instead of going towards it. Now he goes towards it, and he gets the in-between hop. And from up here, you could just see that he was going to get the in-between hop. You've got to start towards it early, or you got to wait back. You can't get it on the big in-between hop. You got to get it either on the short hop or the big hop.
Matt Williams, who singled his first time up. air to shallow center field. Williams coming in along with Paul O'Neill. They converge on it, and it's O'Neill who snatches it out of the air.
That's one of those plays where O'Neill's got to give way. I mean, that center fielder is the captain out there. Paul O'Neill, though, has done that before in right center field with Bernie Williams. Either one makes the catch. Bernie Williams is the guy who's hollering, "I got it, I got it, I got it." Oh, really, said Paul O'Neill.
Paul O'Neill's a little jacked up right now, too. I mean, let's face it, he just hit a grand slam. You know, he says, hey, it's my night. I'm going to take this. But you're right. The center fielder has the right of way, and he's the captain out there. You see the surprised look on Bernie Williams' face there.
Well, if he makes a catch like that in front of range, we'll know he's really jacked up.
David Justice singled his first time up. It was Justice who delivered the killing blow against the Indians in the 1995 World Series at Fulton County Stadium. The home run that accounted for the only run in a 1-0 Game 6 series clinching win.
And with all his pregame comments that year, he put a lot of pressure on himself, you know, discussing the inactivity of the fans and how they weren't into it. But he went out and did his thing.
Is that Paul Ossenmacher? Ossenmacher?
Did he hit it off? No, Jim Poole, I think.
Poole? Okay, Jim Poole.
Double jeopardy will be next, and then the lightning round.
All left-handers look the same anyway.
2-0.
I want to bet it all. It took me that long to think. I'm sorry.
Wells working very deliberately, and Justice slamming one to right. O'Neill to the wall for the catch.
Well, this was a beautiful swing by Justice, but a good pitch from Wells. The ball is in on him a little bit. We talked about keeping the ball in on him, and this one tails in, and he gets him on the handle. Watch this pitch. See, it comes in on him. He can't get to it, and he gets it toward the handle. He does not get enough of it to get it out.
That one just didn't sound good.
Well, he
didn't have that real good crack to it.
When they get in your kitchen, it doesn't sound good.
Yeah.
Had that ball been 3 more inches out over the plate, it'd be a 6-3 ball game.
Sandy Alomar Jr., who popped to second his first time up. A season that included a 30-game hitting streak for Alomar, an all-star game home run in his home park here at Jacobs Field, a batting average that was over 350 for a good portion of the season and wound up at 324 with 21 home runs. Hayes goes the short way for the force with Sanchez covering. So Ramirez reaches on an error to start the inning, but nothing comes of it. Still 6-1 New York.
Here's Paul O'Neill as he gets to the Yankee dugout, and Jose Cardenal now telling O'Neill that anything hitting that area belongs to Bernie Williams. Now Bernie Williams, look, anything in that area, were you calling the ball? He said, yeah, I was calling it. Paul O'Neill said, look, I just hit a grand slam home run. Anything in that area is mine. Almost a collision there. There was a ball hitting right center field that Williams was making the call on, but Paul O'Neill, there's Bernie Williams. You see him saying, I got it, Paul O'Neill. No problem.
And that one got Ken Kaiser. And the fans compassionately cheer.
Can he wave that ball? No problem. Bring on another one. Bring on another one to the former pro wrestler. Watch this. Ooh, that one got him in the arm. Ow! That one had a little bite on it. That's almost like a step over toe with a roll on top of it.
Yeah, you got to prefer the sleeper hold to that. 1-2 to Martinez, who's walked and delivered an RBI single.
Well, they continue to pound him inside. Every pitch except the one he singled to right field on has been a pitch inside or off the plate inside. And they're going back in there again.
Williams scurried over there but had no chance. 1-2. Paul O'Neill has 5 of the 6 runs driven in. Martinez has the other one. O'Neill with an RBI single and a grand slam. That didn't miss by much. 2-2. O'Neill was the first man O.J. faced after Nagy walked the bases loaded and was yanked in the 4th. And O'Neill took him over the center field fence for the grand slam. And now a full count to Martinez leading off in the 5th. The Yankees with 6 runs on just 3 hits. But 5 of the 6 Yankees who walked scored. Williams into foul ground for the first out. Another blimp shot, and providing it, the Goodyear Blimp Stars and Stripes. Goodyear Blimps now in their 4th decade of live sports coverage, but I'm confused because last night in San Francisco they said that this marked the 72nd year that a Goodyear blimp had flown over a major sports event. Now, by my calculations, that's more than 4 decades. I think there's some sort of blimp scandal here that needs to be investigated.
Well, I never thought we'd get here this morning. A long ride. You guys left ahead of us and beat us here by a couple hours. Nice, easy ride.
Well, you know, when you try to take a dirigible across country on a short schedule.
We had a real good wind, buddy.
1-1 to Cecil Fielder. I know you want to ride in the gondola of that thing.
Almost last year. Almost last year. We had it all set up, but things happened. Couldn't get back to New York with the Orioles series.
Broken bat roll of the 3rd. Williams takes care of Fielder. The way I heard it, you were detained at security for several days. Two quick outs in the Yankee 5th. Fielder's now 0 for 3. And here's Hayes, who's hit the ball hard twice. He flied to Grissom in deep center and then sent a wicked liner toward Robertson left, which Bipp had to leap to catch. Still wearing something of a bemused expression.
Well, he was trying to get Marquise Grissom's attention to let him know that he was guarding the line, that there's a lot of area between the two. A lot of area right there between them, and he wants Marquise to know he's got a long way to go if it's hit over that way.
OJ's 2-0 pitch to Hayes is in there.
Yeah, he wants to make sure that Marquise has the Paul O'Neill mentality. Come get anything you can get.
Breaking ball, hit foul. Relatively quiet at Jacobs Field. Some of the best fans in baseball can be found in Cleveland. They suffered through all those years in an outdated ballpark with a terrible team that was literally never in contention. Forget about never winning, never even in contention for decades on end. And then things came together. A new park, a contending team. You can't find a seat to any of these games, not just the postseason, regular season. In fact, when they had interleague games in Pittsburgh, relatively close by, a good portion of the fans at the games in Pittsburgh were actually Cleveland fans who couldn't get seats here and made the drive to see their team play in Pittsburgh. 3-2 pitch. Here's a drive down the line and left.
Nice catch.
Foul, a nice catch. by the guy in the front row.
There he is. You got it. Look what he's got in the other hand.
Didn't even spill his drink.
Apple cider. There's that last hooking drive. Watch this catch. No problemo, baby.
This time he reaches for it, rolls it to Fernandez, and the Yankees go in order in the 5th. After 4.5, New York 6, Cleveland 1.
The 77 series. In the 4th inning, Reggie Jackson took Bert Hooten's first pitch into the right field stands. In the 5th, he took Elias Sosa's first pitch to the same spot. In the 8th, he made Charlie Huff's first pitch his 3rd homer in 3 at-bats. 3 swings, 3 home runs. MCI.
There's Paul O'Neill.
And this is why infielders say outfielders should pay to get in the ballpark. He's out there practicing his swing. He's not worried about playing defense. Well, he knows one of the infielders will tell him where to throw the ball anyway. But
it's either that or Tai Chi. One of the two. You got to like that guy, boy. You talk about a hard player. Great guy to get along with. Always willing to talk. Had a good time with Paul O'Neill before the game today.
Tony Fernandez will start it in the last half of the 5th. Indians trying to creep back in it. Martinez over near the railing, but it's in the seats. David Wells has been with Toronto, Detroit, Cincinnati, Baltimore, and now New York. He's pitched in postseason for all of them except Detroit. A 3-0 postseason record. Beat Cleveland in the divisional series for Baltimore last year and beat the Yankees in the LCS. One and two.
The great thing about David Wells is that he eats up innings for you. I mean, that's really why the Yankees wanted him, along with the fact he pitched well against them in the past. But he's a guy that gives you a lot of innings. He's always healthy. I mean, he's ready to go to the corral for you all the time.
Torrey with his trusted aide Zimmer.
Is that somebody in your hotel room?
Another broken bat. Jeter retreats into shallow center field, and there's the first out. The battle for the National League pennant begins Tuesday night, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. The Marlins taking on the Braves in Atlanta. That's game 1 of the NLCS, Tuesday at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific on NBC.
That could be a good matchup there. Kevin Brown for the Florida Marlins, and of course Greg Maddux for the Braves.
That finds the hole, a base hit for Marquise Grissom.
That's only the 6th hit in this game.
Each team has 3.
Take away the 6 walks given up by the Indian staff and the big home run by O'Neill, but other than that, pretty well pitched ball game as you look at Grissom drilling that ball past Charlie Hayes.
So Grissom aboard with 1 out, and it brings up Omar Vizquel. 1 for 29 lifetime against David Wells, but the last time up he sent Raines almost to the wall and straightaway left. Wells hasn't walked anybody, hasn't struck anybody out. Leads 6-1 as he works with 1 out and 1 on in the 5th.
There are those games when David Wells really does become a power pitcher. I mean, when he can be a strikeout pitcher. And from time to time when he does need it, we talked about him earlier tonight, the fact that he'll back off a fastball once in a while, but every other time, I mean, if he needs a punch out once in a while, he'll really try to hump up on it.
And another throw over. Well, he doesn't have any Ks in the scorebook tonight, but he had a 16 strikeout game earlier this year against Oakland. And fans, instead of putting the K out, which has become all the rage when a big strikeout pitcher is on the mound all around baseball, they hung drawings of beer mugs out over the railing instead of Ks for each strikeout. And as you might suspect, given his image, Wells was delighted. Now he comes to the plate. Long foul.
Let's take a look at David Wells' shoulder. We talked about it early in the ball game. See if he's still getting it there. We talked about how he had to keep it down to be successful. Right there, you see him come right over the top. Fastball, a little moving fastball on the inside part of the plate. So far he's staying with, behind the ball, and his mechanics are very good.
The 0-2 pitch. Blocked by Girardi. Remember the game Wells pitched? We were broadcasting it an afternoon at Yankee Stadium, game 2 of the American League Championship Series. He was in lots of trouble early in the 3rd, 4th, 5th inning. You thought he was maybe 1 pitch from being out of there. And he was able to grit his way through and even that series for Baltimore. He was pitching for Baltimore against the Yankees that day.
Well, Joe Torre talked about him before the game tonight. He said if you're talking about somebody who's durable and can suck up some innings and, I mean, throw pitches and still be right, it's him.
A soft liner into center beyond the lunging Sanchez. On his way to third is Grissom on a single by Vizquel.
It's a very interesting pitch sequence in that Vizquel has not had a lot of success against David Wells, and he threw him a steady diet of changeups, and with 2 strikes he throws him a changeup here. It's a changeup out of way, and he just flips it out there, and he gets a base hit. When you've been getting a guy out one way, the way you've been getting him out most of your career, you might as well go after him. Good job here by Sanchez. He tried to get to it, not able to get there. And Marquise Grissom, with his speed, moves around to third base.
Now Bip Roberts, who's grounded out twice. A pop-up. Sanchez back into shallow right field. O'Neill in behind him. And you just can't call Paul O'Neill off tonight.
But you know, in respect to Sanchez, Paul O'Neill's there, and if Paul O'Neill makes the call, it's his ball. The infielder's got to give way to him. He was right behind him.
Not only that, it's an easier throw to keep Marquise Grissom from scoring. But you do see Sanchez calling, but an infielder is really not supposed to call. He's supposed to camp under it, make the catch, unless the outfielder calls him off.
Can't even see if O'Neill is calling here.
Yes,
He's calling. Sanchez doesn't do anything, Joe, but stick his glove out. He doesn't say anything.
And O'Neill's not looking for his glove. He's looking up at the ball. So that was not Paul's problem that time.
No, that should have been his catch.
Bip Roberts very upset that he didn't get the runner in from third with less than 2 outs.
Now there are 2 down. Runners at first and third for Kevin Seitzer. Ramiro Mendoza in the Yankee bullpen.
You know how important this ball game is to the Yankees. I mean, this is maybe the biggest game of the series for them, simply because they do not have a David Cone to come back. They're going to go with Dwight Gooden tomorrow, and they're not sure of, their staff. So this ball game is one that they have to win, since they already have a 6-1 lead. So he'll pull out all stops, use everybody in that pen tonight.
1-1. Well, the Yankee bullpen, outstanding, especially in the second half of the season. Here's tomorrow night's starter, Dwight Gooden, along with Andy Pettit, who would work Game 5 if it goes that far. The Yankee bullpen, through the first 2 games of this series, 9 2/3 scoreless innings. David Cone is out. If they make the LCS, he might be available. Toward the hole, Hayes dives to smother it from his knees. Sanchez stays on the bag and makes a good play at his end, and the Indians are denied. A couple of hits, but 2 are left. And after 5, 6-1 New York.
To be a good infielder, you have to have quick feet, and you have to be moving when the ball's hit. Watch Charlie Hayes. See, he's moving. He's got some movement. You can't go from a dead stop and make a play like this. He had some movement. He comes up. He throws to second. He takes the short way, and he's able to retire the side. Although we know that he may have had time to get up and throw. Sights are out. And watch this play. See the movement? He's got some movement, and he's able to get over there and make the play. You saw him make a little false step toward the line, but that's getting on his right side so he can push off, as he did there.
Chad O'Jay still on the hill for the Indians. He threw the pitch that O'Neill launched over the center field fence for a grand slam home run that broke the game open. It was 2-1 when Nagy left, but Nagy had set the stage for what happened next by walking 3, and then when OJ went 3-2 to O'Neill, Hall connected, throws the fastball past Girardi to begin the 6th with a strikeout. Players, 3 ex-cons working for the FBI.
We're not cops, not robbers. We're the good guys. Okay.
Players premieres in 2 weeks on NBC Friday. I hope their parole officers are watching. Ray Sanchez has grounded out twice. If you're going to recruit employees for a federal agency, I think the first thing you ought to do is search out people with a criminal record.
That's all new to me.
I know you'll be watching, though, Uke. A couple of Fridays from now.
You got that right, baby. How many banks you held up? 9. You're going to be a traffic cop.
Get to double figures and you're in the FBI. Hit to short. It comes up for Vizquel. 2 down.
Fielder number 31, Jim Ring.
Hey, we're only kidding about that stuff now. I want to walk out of this place tonight, and I don't want to be arrested or, It's all for laughs, gang. Love your badge, 714. I watch that show all the time.
At the very least, a wiretap is guaranteed in your case.
Jack Webb was my favorite. I love that guy.
Top of the order in Raines on the first pitch toward the line and left. Bip Roberts over there, and in fair territory he makes the catch. OJ works a quick 6th. It remains 6-1 New York. Jacobs Field has become one of the jewels of this city. A rejuvenated city, considering the circumstances of the 1970s and early 80s. Just across the way at the Gund Arena, where the Cavaliers play, Reba McEntire entertaining tonight. Sold out, so enough room for baseball fans and country and western fans left over. Manny Ramirez, first pitch swinging as we move to the bottom of the 6th. And it's Sanchez in shallow center.
Charles Nagy threw 33 pitches in the first inning alone. That was David Wells' 56th pitch here in the 6th inning.
And again, no strikeouts for Wells tonight. He's walked none. And again, if you're not the big strikeout guy in a particular ball game, it's going to keep your pitch count down naturally.
He hasn't even gone to a 3-ball count.
I tell you, he doesn't even look like he's breaking a sweat tonight, Bob. Beautiful night here, though.
Rain fell briefly, a couple of innings back. Just as quickly it stopped. It's an official game now. Williams is 1 for 2, and the count to him 0-1. The Indian lineup. Go ahead, you.
I was going to say 57 pitches for David Wells is nothing. As Joe said before the game, Joe Torre. Very durable, and he likes to stay. He's a stayer. He likes to stay in a game.
Could be working on a shutout, speaking of Wells. But for a close play at first on a potential double play ball with runners at first and third, and Tony Fernandez was ruled safe on the back end, and the run scored from third. Tomorrow's Game 4 matchup. An interesting one. A few years ago, it would have been at the top of any pitching marquee. Dwight Gooden against Oral Hershiser. Back in 1988 in the NLCS, they were the respective aces. Gooden for the Mets, Hershiser for the Dodgers. Hershiser was in the midst of one of the great runs in pitching history, the end of the regular season, breaking Drysdale's consecutive scoreless innings record, then through the LCS and into the World Series against the A's. Hit wide of third. Hayes has no play.
We talked earlier, Joe, about David Justice. What a great swing he has. Here's another guy, Matt Williams. I love to watch this guy hit. I mean, you watch the swing and then the follow through. I mean, every time it makes contact. Watch this. He got a great swing. He really does.
Now what he has is a slugger swing like Jim Thome. They clear their hips to get the bat through.
Jim Thome not in the Cleveland lineup tonight because of his past inability to handle David Wells.
And we saw Davey Johnson make some of those changes, take some of his top players out, and he beat Randy Johnson.
2-2. The Yankees with a run in the first. Cleveland tied it in the second. Yanks pushed another one across in the third to take a 2-1 lead, and the Paul O'Neill grand slam sent 4 across in the fourth. 6-1 New York. The Indians have actually out-hit them 4-3, but trail by 5.
Good pitch.
Sanchez going back again. He's been busy on those pop-ups into shallow right and center, and he makes another play.
When a guy's getting a lot of pop-ups like that, you know that he's making good pitches in under the hands, and these guys are shortening their arms trying to get to it, and they're not able to do it. That's how he's getting all these pop-ups. Watch this pitch. See, it's sailing in a little bit on Matt. He has to try to clear to get his hands through. Watch his hands. Watch how he has to pull his hands in a little bit to try to get to it, and that's how you hit a lot of pop-ups.
So Williams is now 1 for 3. Justice is singled and flied to deep right. That's with the bases empty and 2 down. We mentioned that David Wells pitched against the Yankees for Baltimore in the American League Championship Series a year ago. In effect, although it wasn't a trade, it involved free agency. In effect, he was swapped for Jimmy Key. Key to the Orioles from the Yanks. Wells the other way. As the Orioles and Yankees continue to battle atop the standings, and Peter Angelos and George Steinbrenner battle in the payroll department.
If you're a left-handed hitter, as Jim Thome is, David Wells is not any tougher on a left-hander than he is a right-hander because he comes straight over the top, and he doesn't have a real hard slider. He's pretty much a fastball and an overhand curveball. Everything coming at the top, you see this just as well from the left side as you would from the right side. You see how he clears himself. So to me, he wouldn't be any more difficult from the left side than he is from the right side. He's difficult from the right-handers as well because he has good stuff.
Here's his 2-1 pitch. Down and away. And it's the first time tonight that he's gone to 3 balls on any hitter.
I'll tell you, that's a heck of a tribute to David Wells tonight. First time three balls and a strike now. And again, he's been around there all night long from the get-go.
Fastball hammered toward the gap in right center field. It gets down and goes to the wall for extra bases. Justice with at least a double, and considering the score and 2 outs, he's content with that.
Good pitch by David Wells. 6-1. You make him hit the ball. You get this fastball out over the plate. Dave Justice hammers it again, but he's just such a good hitter. He could have popped this pitch up. So you have to make him swing the bat. Good pitch by Wells to make him swing. Good hitting there by Justice to find the gap. I mean, he is just a pure hitter.
Nagy is long gone. Wells with a 5-run lead here in the 6th. Sandy Alomar Jr. 0 for 2. And a called strike. We mentioned that it was a career year with the bat for Alomar, and there's the evidence. Hoping for a matchup with brother Roberto in the ALCS. 1-1. The Orioles were trying to sweep today, but they couldn't get it done. Jeff Fasaro pitched a fine game, worked out of first-inning trouble. The Orioles had the bases loaded against him, but he got out of that, and Fasaro and the Mariners managed to stay alive. They now trail 2-1, and they'll have Randy Johnson on the mound tomorrow. 1-1 pitch. A drive to left. And Tim Raines is there to make the catch. Got in on his fists a little bit. Raines tucks it away. The Justice double goes to waste, and we're back after these messages from your local station. The Yankees lead it 6-1. They're 3 ex-cons, and now they're working for the government. Oh, wait a minute. That's a different show on NBC. Joe Morgan, Bob Uecker.
Hey, policemen all across America, we were only kidding, all of us. Okay, take a good look at us. We're on our way home.
And we're on our way to the top of the 7th. Jeter has reached on an error and walked twice. He'll be followed by O'Neill and Williams. Chad O.J. working some heavy innings here. He came on in the 4th and surrendered the grand slam to O'Neill. Left field, Roberts over, makes a skidding catch.
Sometimes he does look like a second baseman out there in left field, doesn't he?
Now as O'Neill comes up, let's go back to what happened in the 4th inning. A walk to Girardi after a 2-0 count, then an intentional walk to Raines. Jeter also was walked on a 3-2 pitch after being behind on the count 1-2. And then bam, O'Neill hits the jackpot. It's the first postseason grand slam for a Yankee hitter since Joe Pepitone hit one with the bases loaded in Game 6 of the 1964 World Series off Gordon Richardson of the Cardinals.
I was there.
This is a weak pop into shallow center, and Vizquel tucks it away. You were there, you member of the '64 Cardinals.
Well, he got O'Neill out on the pitch that he was trying to make when he hit the grand slam, a changeup down and away, and O'Neill off balance pops it up, and he's very upset. But O'Neill is always upset when he makes an out. He figures he's supposed to bat 1,000.
Yeah, he does. O.J. since the Grand Slammer, though, has retired 9 in a row.
The only time tonight that O'Neill has not hit the ball hard. Williams is 0 for 3. Did the '64 Cards vote you a full share, you?
Yes, they did. Yes, they did, as a matter of fact. I never did cash that check.
Just framed it, huh?
Yes. No, it's not much.
What was a full World Series share in '64?
I think we got $8,300 or $8,600. That was the winner's share, and of course it's gone up quite a bit since then.
Excellent observation.
Well, just ask. You got to do is ask, buddy.
What's the most money you ever made in baseball, you?
20. Honestly, I think my biggest salary was $21,000, 21 grand, and 11 of that came from selling other players' equipment. So 10 really.
The 1-2 pitch. Before you ask me, I'll just say I was lucky enough to stay around when they did start paying 7 figures. So I was just lucky enough to stay around that long.
Well, you earned it though, Joe. You really did. I was happy. I didn't care.
You're right. I mean,
I really did. Minimum salary went up every year. I got a raise. Who cared?
Plus, you got the meal money.
Absolutely, and I still got it.
Wrapped down at first, and Seitzer retires Williams unassisted. So after the slam, O.J. hasn't let anybody reach base. Our thanks again to Captain Chambers and his crew aboard the Goodyear Blimp Stars and Stripes out of Pompano Beach, Florida. Providing the aerial shots over Cleveland tonight. David Wells with the 6-1 lead that has held up since the O'Neill Grand Slam in the 4th. Goes back to work in the last of the 7th, facing his former Blue Jay teammate Tony Fernandez. On the first pitch, a pop-up to short. Jeter for the first out. Folks, join NBC tomorrow for NFL action. It's a doubleheader. It starts at noon Eastern with the NFL on NBC. Weish and Collinsworth, Gumbel and Rashad, and others. Then in Game 1, most of you will see Marcus Allen and the Chiefs taking on Dan Marino and the Dolphins. There's also Pittsburgh-Baltimore and the Cincinnati-Jacksonville game. Then in Game 2, Stan Humphries and the Chargers go against Jeff George and the Raiders in the game most of you will see. But of course, check your local listings for the games in your area. Talk about logging some miles. Last weekend, Jim Gray was in Spain for the Ryder Cup. He joined us in Seattle for the start of our playoff coverage. This ball was popped to the right side. A chance for Sanchez. And Marquise Grissom is history in the 7th. 2 quick outs. Then he travels with us to Candlestick Park. Stops off on the way to do an interview with Jeff George. Takes an overnight plane, arrives 7, 8 o'clock in the morning with us here in Cleveland, then turns around and goes back for the coverage of the Oakland-San Diego game tomorrow, and then will join us in Atlanta Tuesday night for the start of the NLCS.
Well, he finally gets to go home.
Just the frequent flyer miles ought to net him something. Vizquel to the plate. Maybe, Uke, if we register under assumed names, he'll stop following us.
I tried. Well, he's here. We're glad to have him. Where is he? He's downstairs. He was up here a couple of minutes ago.
He's everywhere.
Vizquel is lined to deep left and singled softly to center. Still time for some horseplay on the Indian bench despite the 6-1 deficit. No point in being overly grim about it. They've been down before. Now Vizquel with a 3-0 count. These Yankees had the best record in all of baseball in the second half. They went 48-29. Closed the regular season with 5 straight wins, then took the opener of this series. Although the Orioles led wire to wire, and although they won the season series head-to-head against the Yankees, And although the positions are flip-flopped from a year ago when the Yanks won the division and Baltimore was the wild card, they could be headed toward a rematch in the ALCS. And very few people would count the Yankees out. Yankees conclude the season winning 17 of 22. Or perhaps you'd like to express it as 8 of 9 or the last 5 in a row. Either way, they were hot.
Very impressive.
Now the 3-2 pitch. And another pop-up. One after another. This time, it's Martinez who goes into foul ground to grab it. Gave every infielder but Hayes a chance to clutch a pop in this inning. Still 6-1 New York. Well, the story of this game appears to have been written early with the wildness of Charles Nagy, normally a very fine control pitcher. The 6 walks he gave up. He left trailing 2-1, handed Chad O'Jay a bases loaded situation. Paul O'Neill cashed all the runners in with a grand slam. That made it 6-1, and nothing has happened since.
The Yankees only 3 hits in this game, Bob. Again, the 6 walks, leading 6-1. The Indians have but 5, total of 8 hits in this game.
Foul back. 0-2. All 3 hits produced runs, RBI singles for O'Neill and Martinez, and then the grand slam for Paul O'Neill. Torrey in between Zimmer and Girardi. One and 2. Can you imagine what the Seattle lineup would be like, Joe, if they had been able to retain Tino Martinez, but they made a decision, given all the stars they had, that they couldn't take the payroll to that level? Of course, Paul Sorrento hit 31 home runs for them from the first base position primarily.
Yeah, Sorrento's done a good job in talking with Lou Piniella about Martinez, who, as you said, they couldn't hold, and in getting Paul Sorrento, who left the Indians and went to Seattle. He's done a good job. I mean, he's a solid first baseman. He's a guy who's durable for you. He plays hurt. He's got power.
Tell you one thing, if Martinez doesn't start handling that inside fastball, all the scouting reports are going to say just stay in on it.
Went outside that time. 2-2.
4 out of every 5 pitches they've thrown him tonight have been inside corner or off the plate inside. They're back in there again.
Breaking ball hit into shallow center field. Grissom comes on. 1 out in the New York 8th. Especially with the expanded playoff format, it isn't necessarily how your entire season went. It's how you finish up the year, what kind of ball you're playing, what kind of shape your pitching is in. Now, the Yankees have problems in that regard because there are huge question marks surrounding David Cohn. But they do arrive at this point in the postseason playing about as well in general as anybody in baseball.
And remember one thing, Bob, it's not the best team that always wins. It's the team that's playing the best. And that's even magnified in postseason play.
Well, just ask Bobby Cox about his terrific Atlanta Braves teams, who have won 1 world championship when over the stretch they have been the best team in baseball. Earl Weaver went to 3 straight World Series with the Orioles, 69, 70, and 71. That's one of the great teams in modern history. They lost 2 of the 3. Tony La Russa's powerhouse Oakland A's, 88, 89, 90, lost 2 of the 3 World Series. As Bobby Cox has said, it can be a crapshoot in the postseason.
Anytime you play a short series, that can happen. So that's why you want to be playing your best baseball when you get to the postseason. And that's basically, we pointed out a second ago, the Yankees come into this series playing very good baseball, as you mentioned.
2-1 to Cecil Fielder, who's 0 for 3 for the night. All the talk about McGuire and Griffey topping 50. McGuire for the second year in a row. Griffey hit 49 the year before. Walker 49 this year. Cecil Fielder had 51 home runs in 1990 for the Tigers. Out of play, 3-2.
Well, the one thing I'm noticing about him in this ball game, especially this at bat, he's not getting good extension on his swing. The one thing I remember about Cecil when he was hitting all those home runs, he'd always get good extension. And he had a pretty quick bat. He's not getting real good extension in this at bat against OJ.
The 3-2 pitch is skied to center. Grissom for the second out.
And that pitch, another example. That's why that ball wasn't driven. He did not get any extension. Watch his left arm. You'll see his front arm will have to break down for him to get to the ball. He is not getting that extension that you like to get if you're a strong hitter. See how his right hand folds there? I mean, his left hand arm folds. Watch his left arm. It folds under here very quickly. That means his right hand is taking over. Right there, you can see that's why he doesn't drive the ball. The great hitters get great extension and they drive that ball. He hit that on a good part of the bat, but he didn't have any drive to it.
Chad OJ, meanwhile, has faced 13 hitters. He's retired 12 of them, but the first one hit a grand slam. So what he did subsequently has been impressive in a sense, but perhaps irrelevant. The 0-2 moves him away.
Again, he's only struck out one tonight. I mean, it's not that he's doing this stuff with power. He's finessing a little bit. Been a couple of balls that have been hit well against him, as a matter of fact, by Charlie Hayes. And OJ is still in there. I mean, he's just moving the ball around, pulling a string once in a while.
2-2.
See, that's an old catcher talking. He wants that pitch.
Until you hit.
He wants that pitch. You're right.
I thought this was a fairly decent pitch.
Well, it was decent.
And framed nicely by Alomar, but he couldn't coax the call out of Ken Kaiser.
He's done a good job. He's been that way all night tonight, talking about Kaiser.
Another chance for Grissom. All 3 putouts in the inning for the Indian center fielder. 13 in a row set down by OJ. 6-1 New York.
You wonder why David Wells looks so neat each and every time he goes out to the mound? Here it is right here. There you go. There he is. Look at him now. There he is. Everybody else out here, all the tailor-made pants and the shirts tucked in really neat. Look at David Wells.
Certainly something for all you youngsters out there.
Absolutely. Bigger the better.
Chad Curtis is on for defense in left field. Bit of a misadventure on a ball hit over his head in game 2, but generally a very good defensive outfielder. Stanton is the left-hander. Nelson is the right-hander. It doesn't appear that they'll have to call on Rivera tonight. Wells falls behind Bip Roberts, 2-0. Down 6-1. The Indians are down to 6 outs in this one. Roberts is 0 for 3. Taking all the way, and there's a strike. Just a few weeks ago, David Wells publicly complained, "Joe Torre has lost faith in me." He said, "Sure, I'd like to be in the rotation for the playoffs, but don't ask me. I don't know if I will be or not." 2-2.
Well, it's interesting because he kind of won a battle between he and Dwight Gooden down the stretch to see who would be their third starter. But now it's irrelevant in that David Cone will not be able to come back, so both he and Gooden will get starts in this series.
Gooden tomorrow night in game 4 against Hershiser.
You know, Joe Torre's done a magnificent job this year again with his pitching staff, and he's had guys who have been out And there's always a little conflict, I guess, sometimes between manager and pitchers and starters. And I mean, it's a foregone conclusion with David Wells. I mean, he's been a couple of other places where he's had run-ins. I mean, they're nothing serious. Here he is tonight. He's pitching a heck of a ball game, and the Yankees lead 6-1. What's to worry?
And the count holds at 2-2.
But you can also understand if you're Joe Torre and the guy goes 0-5, you know, in August and September, I mean, you have to lose a little confidence in him.
Well, Joe said it was just lack of location for him. It wasn't velocity. It wasn't his breaking ball. He said he just wasn't throwing strikes. That was plain and simple.
A lot of interesting decisions regarding that Yankee pitching. Hideki Irabu and Kenny Rogers, a lot of money invested in them. They're not even on the playoff roster, at least not for this series. Spank to left. Curtis gets a chance right away and charges in to make the play. A reminder, folks, about the NFL on NBC, the pregame show that starts at noon Eastern Time. There are features on that program about Dan Marino, Pittsburgh's Cordell Stewart, and the Raiders' Tim Brown, the former Heisman Trophy winner. Greg Gumbel, Ahmad Rashad, Sam Weish, Chris Collinsworth and company at noon Eastern and 9 Pacific before the kickoffs tomorrow on NBC, a doubleheader Sunday. Kevin Seitzer to the plate. Bluffs a bunt, takes a strike. What the Yankees did, especially on the road in the postseason last year, was remarkable. This obviously their first away game of the '97 postseason, leading 6-1 in the 8th. Seitzer's 0 for 3, robbed of what could have been an RBI hit his last time up on a diving play at third by Charlie Hayes.
Might wonder about that face guard that Seitzer wears now. While with the Brewers, on 2 occasions he was hit in the face with fastballs, and I mean really crushed. And you know, you talk about a lot of hitters and how tough they are, and you talk about them being gamers. This guy is one of the toughest that I've ever been around. I mean, after being hit the next day with a swollen eye and whatever else, bad bruises and everything else, he wanted to be in the lineup. He wanted to play. I got it.
Coming back toward us, it doesn't quite make it, Joe. Come on.
I was ready for that one. If they have a little arc to them, I don't mind making the catch. Line drives that I have a problem with.
One came whistling back into the booth last night in San Francisco. Uke valiantly tried to make the play.
Yes,
came out of it with a bruise on the heel of his hand.
Badly bruised hand. Look at this. This is not blood. That's actually red ink that I put on there to indicate blood for the people at the hotel.
That is nasty looking.
Thank you, Bobby.
Occasions a lot of sympathy. And Seitzer keeps spoiling them.
Let's take a quick look back at how this series kind of starts to be mapped out for the remainder. Mike Hargrove wanted to use Chad O.J. as his long man, and the fact that Hershiser is going tomorrow, and last time he did not make it through the 5th inning, O.J. was going to be his top long man. Now he's pitching 5 or 6 innings in this ball game.
Girardi back for a look, and this one won't stay in for him. So an extended at bat for Kevin Seitzer.
And the question is, when will he be available again, meaning O.J.? So he's using him tonight in this 6-1 ball game, but he's been in since the 4th inning.
Righty and lefty up, just in case O.J. does not work tonight. David Wells has thrown 5 complete games this year. This ball is hit down the left field line, and it'll make the seats. In this day and age, 5 complete games is a fairly high total for a season. You pay so much for a setup man and a closer that very often, even when your starter is pitching well enough to complete the game, or at least have a good chance to complete it, it's automatic that he's out of there by the 8th inning.
Absolutely. Whole different era now, and it's a little unsettling sometimes and upsetting to starting pitchers, Bob. I know a couple of guys in watching Milwaukee's games this year, a couple of times with pitchers into the 9th inning where they had comfortable leads and low pitch counts and what have you, were taken out of the game, and nothing against the manager at all. It's just to get the bullpen work. I mean, that's their job. The guy who's going to come in and work the 9th, or a pitcher that needs work, you got to get him in there sometimes. I think that's the other reason why complete games are now kaput.
Now Seitzer punches one into center, and finally Bernie Williams retires him. Seitzer was approaching the Luke Appling or Richie Ashburn category for consecutive foul balls.
And discussing those complete games, that's what makes the fact that Pedro Martinez of the Montreal Expos had 13 complete games, you know, such a great figure. I mean, he had 13 complete games.
And when you consider his ERA and the opponent's batting average against him and the quality of the team he pitched for, despite a number of remarkable performances by pitchers in the National League this year, he has got to be the Cy Young Award winner, Pedro Martinez.
He also had over 300 strikeouts, and you're right, the batting average was under 200 and his earned run average was under 2. Does not get much better than that.
Ramirez 0 for 3, lined out, reached on an error, and popped out.
I'll tell you, David Wells has thrown a lot of good fastballs tonight. Been a lot of pop-ups and a lot of foul balls. I mean, pitches that are up or waist high in the strike zone as you look at the rain starting to come down once again. But these Indian batters have been fighting off the fastball for most of the night. He's done most of his good work with his number 1 pitch.
This one hit hard. Hayes juggles it for a moment, but has time to gun it across the diamond to take care of Ramirez. A 1-2-3 8th for David Wells. An inning away from a Yankee win.
NBC's coverage of tonight's Division Series game is brought to you by Old Spice High Endurance Deodorant. For long-lasting odor protection, now you've got proof, not promises. By Wendy's new fresh stuffed pitas. If you haven't tried one, you will. By the new 1998 Toyota Corolla. My, how things have changed. Toyota every day. And by MCI. Is this a great time or what?
As we return to Cleveland, a little dunk shot into right field off the bat of Joe Girardi ends the string of consecutive batters retired by Chad Oj at 13. So he's given up a bloop and a blast.
Here's that last little flare by Joe Girardi, a breaking ball, and Girardi just got enough to drop it between Ramirez and Tony Fernandez. Base hit for Girardi.
It's that old Bob Prince line from former Pirate announcer, a bloop and a blast.
And now Sanchez lays down a bunt, and O.J. shovels it over to Fernandez, covering at first. Not a classic sacrifice situation, leading 6-1, but the number 9 hitter advances the runner into scoring position.
And this is basically the way Joe Torre played last year, not so much with a 5-run lead, but he would play small ball a lot of times by bunting, hitting and running, and generally running the bases with aggressiveness. So not unusual for him to do this in this situation.
Now Chad Curtis, a former Indian, as you know. Mid-season pickup for the Yankees, and a terrific acquisition. It didn't seem at the time like a major deal, but what a factor he's been.
With the loss of Strawberry and Range being out for extended time, he became the number 1 player out there in left field.
This is his first at-bat of the night since replacing Raines for defense. Matt Williams, David Justice, and Sandy Alomar are the Cleveland hitters in the bottom of the 9th. One out, one on in the top half. 2-1. The Yankees have just 4 hits, 3 singles, and the O'Neill grand slam.
You look at this score in this game at 6-1. You'd figure there's got to be more hits than 9, but that's it.
Hit hard to short. And here's a bad base running play by Girardi as he gets caught between second and third and tagged out by Fernandez. Did he miss him? They're contending that somehow the tag was missed. At least the Yankees are, but Girardi exits and the out has been recorded.
It did look like Fernandez missed him when Girardi hit the deck. But again, it's a base running mistake by Girardi on a ball hit in front of him. Here's the chase by Fernandez. We can't actually see from that one. It looked like he missed him. It went right over the top of Girardi.
Takes a swipe at him and looks like he missed him.
No argument from Girardi on this play, and there again you see it from another angle. And after the supposed tag, Fernandez with a flip back to Vizquel at second.
Maybe Girardi was too embarrassed to argue. Second night in a row we've seen that. And the second time it's been by a good veteran player. Girardi is a very good base runner.
Yes, exactly. He's even hit second up in the lineup because he is a good base runner. That was a tougher play than the one we saw yesterday. The one yesterday was just a ground ball in front of him. Yes, and Moises Alou in front of him. This was at least a one hopper where if you're getting a good lead off, you may not be able to get back in time, but you definitely can't get caught off second base on a ground ball to shortstop.
So Curtis now is the runner at first. And Jeter, who's 0 for 2 with a pair of walks, 2 runs scored and a stolen base. Now Mariano Rivera does get up, throwing in the rain. Another chance for Vizquel. Backhands to Fernandez covering. Chad Curtis has had a couple of run-ins at second base, and we'll come back and talk about that because that was another one that might have raised some eyebrows. Fernandez looked at him as if to question what he did. We'll be right back.
Bob mentioned there has been some history with Chad Curtis not sliding at second base. So watch his left elbow there. He kind of throws his left elbow out and he rolls at Tony Fernandez. That's why Fernandez was upset, and the fact that he has not been sliding on some of the ground balls that are.
Matt Williams is the leadoff man as Joe Torre is going to let David Wells try to complete this game. Jeter makes the catch, and Wells has now retired 12 of the last 13 men he's faced. And we're going to assume that things will go well for him from here and declare that tonight's Chevrolet Player of the Game is David Wells.
No disagreement from me.
Nope.
I think he's done a great job, especially from a guy that didn't know that he was going to get this start until recently.
It's raining hard enough now to stop the game if they weren't 2 outs away from its completion, but they'll try to get through it.
Well, it's a heavy mist, and a lot of the Jacobs Fields folks are taking a hike, getting out of here, but. Takes nothing away from this ballgame that David Wells has pitched.
He will now be 4-0 in postseason in his career, unless the Indians should rally here. Hit hard down to first. Martinez takes it himself, and Wells is 1 out away from a complete game. We were talking about the complete game becoming a relative rarity. Wells had 5, and that's a fairly high figure these days. The entire Cleveland staff had 4. You look at Wells, and I'm reminded of the line that the great writer from the Los Angeles Times, Jim Murray, once had about Craig Stadler, the golfer. The idol of every man who ever said, "Sure, I'll have the pie," and make it a la mode. You know, in an age when everybody's hitting the weights, everybody looks like they just walked in from a stint on Baywatch. You got to have a Mickey Lolich type guy around.
Oh, he is. That he is. He's a lot of fun. He's a great guy to be around. He really is. Motorcycle. He's a motorcycle guy. He's everything. I mean, this guy is everything. Sometimes he gets himself into a bit of a jam. Sometimes he did it with Cito Gaston too, up in Toronto. But you take the ball.
And he finishes it with a strikeout. Girardi's going to have to tag Alomar. He set down 14 of the last 15 he faced. And I'm checking my score sheet. That may have been his only strikeout.
It was.
The last batter.
Last batter, and he throws a breaking ball to Sandy Alomar Jr., and this is his only strikeout. He just pitched a magnificent game, letting him put the ball in play. Great movement on his fastball. This is a breaking ball in the dirt. Sandy Alomar can't check, and that's his only strikeout. But what a way to finish the ball game. He did it with just great movement on his fastball most of the ball game and throwing strikes. Good job by Girardi, and you have to give Girardi a lot of credit for the way that he handled Wells tonight.
The Yankee bench reacts. They've got a 2-1 lead. And they'll ask Dwight Gooden to send them to the American League Championship Series tomorrow night. But Oral Hershiser stands in his way. If there's a fifth game, young Jarrett Wright, who performed so well in Game 2, will take on Andy Pettitte again. Let's go to Jim Gray.
Thank you very much, Bob. Well, David, just complete control tonight. Basically a shutout if you get to call it first base. What was the key tonight to your success in settling down so quickly?
You know, just trying to stay ahead of the hitters and trying to keep them off stride, and you know, just trying not to let them get extended. And basically, I was staying in most of the night, and you know, just got them conscious in and eventually go away, or you know, throw an off-speed pitch. But you know, basically, I had good control and good location. That was the key. But you know, you can't overlook the defense. I had outstanding defense tonight. You know, you got to give Charlie the game player of the game, man. He just made some unbelievable plays. Him and Paul should share the honors right there.
Let me ask you about this team on the road. You're now 9-0 in the postseason if you go back from last season. Why are you guys so comfortable away from Yankee Stadium?
I don't know, man. We play together. We know what we have to do out there, and you know, I think that you know, each individual gives 110% out there, and you know, and we don't like to go and get beat in other ballparks. Now we stay as a team, and we goof around. We do everything, and we just try to go out there and play hard-nosed baseball. You know, we play fundamental, and that's what you do on the road. You know, you play to win. And you try to win every series that you can, and that's what we take it in at. We take one game at a time and do our best.
Now the team that has jumped out to the early leads in this series, it's come back to bite them. Did that concern you at all tonight when you got up 6-1?
No, you know, I was focused, and I just went out there and threw strikes. Basically, when you get a lead like that, you just got to try to go out there and keep your team close, try to get out as fast as you can, and throw strikes, and that's what I did. You know, I got in on some guys, got the ball down, and when I got it up, and they popped it up. So everything worked tonight.
How concerned are you, David, with the pitching staff, without David Cohen going tomorrow and with Dwight Gooden coming in?
Well, it's a tremendous loss with Coney out, but you know, he knows what it takes. He's been in that situation, and you know, he's got all the faith in us. You know, and I think we go off his vibes, you know, and his charisma that he has. He comes in and talks to us and says, just go get him, man. Just do it for me. And, you know, that's what we do. You know, Coney's a great guy. He's a team leader. And we focus on him when he's pitching as like he does with us. And, you know, and Doc's got a good track record against these guys. So, you know, we're not worried at all.
Congratulations to you, David.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, let's send it back upstairs now to Bob Costas.
It took David Wells just 103 pitches to finish it, and now we're finished for this evening from Cleveland. Join us Tuesday as the battle for the National League pennant resumes at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. The Marlins against the Atlanta Braves in Game 1 of the NLCS. Tomorrow, join NBC for NFL action. It's a doubleheader, as we told you, beginning at noon Eastern Time with the NFL on NBC. Then in Game 1, most of the country will see the Chiefs against the Dolphins. In the second half of the doubleheader, the majority of the nation gets the Chargers and and the Raiders, or perhaps regional action. Tonight, after your late local news, Friends star Matthew Perry hosts an all-new Saturday Night Live with British musical guests Oasis. You know, a lot of people say they sound like the Beatles.
Let's get back to the hotel, baby.
What about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
We'll stop there on tomorrow morning.
They might keep it open late for you, buddy.
Tomorrow morning.
Coming up next on most of these NBC stations, it's Third Rock from the Sun. Is that true? That can't be true. Tonight after your late local news, Friends star Matthew Perry hosts an all-new Saturday Night Live with British musical guest Oasis. That's what it says here. Oh, I guess there is time for another half hour. Why should I doubt what it says here? Third Rock from the Sun. For Jim Gray, Joe Morgan, and Bob Uecker, I'm Bob Costas, evidently a confused man. This has been a presentation of NBC Sports, home of the 1997 World Series and Third Rock from the Sun.